Well, the euro has hit parity with the U.S. dollar, a first in over 20 years. The exchange rate between the two currencies is now just 1 cent apart. The euro has been particularly vulnerable due to the war in Ukraine and rising gas prices, but today's fall marks the weakest that the euro has been since 2001. And it is raising fears of a recession in Europe. And a lot of ouches for people who are being paid, well, depending on where you are, I guess. Here at the big table with me is Christy Platson from DW Business News. So what exactly does the euro-dollar parity mean for me and my wallet?
Well, it depends. I mean, you don't happen to run a tourism business, do you? Okay,
No.
I didn't think so. Yeah, I think you did something else. I mean, if you are running a tourism company of some sort right now, it actually could be a good thing for you in some way. Basically, the euro is quite cheap right now, and for international travelers coming from the U.S., for example, it's very cheap for them to come here and throw some of that cash around. So this it would be a great moment for them to come here and spend some of that. But of course, that's not the case for you. That's not the case for most Europeans here. What it means for us is the exact opposite. Traveling to the U.S. will be more expensive. Also, ordering or buying things from the U.S. or that are somehow being imported from the U.S. are going to be more expensive. This applies for European businesses as well. It's more expensive for them. They're going to have to pass some of that cost on to consumers. And as you know, inflation is already very high here in Europe. So we end up in kind of a vicious cycle where this is potentially going to make inflation worse, which is going to hit the economy, which is going to make the euro even more weak, potentially, if nothing changes.
You know, we see the U.S. Fed keeps raising interest rates there. That makes the dollar more attractive.
Right.
We haven't seen any movement yet by the European Central Bank. So what does this mean for the Eurozone?
Right. I mean, it's kind of the same situation it is said on a bit of a more macro scale. If you're somebody who is exporting, in some ways, this might be really good for you because your goods are cheaper for American companies right now. So that could increase demand. People love a good deal, obviously, but the inverse is true as well. Importing stuff to Europe is going to get more expensive, and that cost is going to have to get passed on to businesses, passed on to consumers. Eventually, if prices keep going up like they have, and as you said, the central bank here has not done a lot on prices, it could mean that people do eventually cut their spending, and this is obviously going to be a disaster for economic growth here. This is when we start hearing even louder voices talking about a recession here in the Eurozone.
Yeah, which is the last thing we need to hear, that tied
Right.
to what energy costs, a war in Ukraine. The list gets longer.
Yeah.
Christy, thank you.